What's going on, Internet? This is Lambo coming to you again from the nerdery, or the basement, also known as the game playing area, 3D terrain area, 3D printing space, miniature storage, game storage, and kids' playroom, all in one. This is where the magic happens. It's been a while since I've made one of these videos. It takes a while to make them, edit them, plus I had a big work trip just before, and now we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So I'm staying socially isolated. I hope you are as well, and you're all staying safe, and I'm sure we'll all get through this in good health relatively soon. So, why are you here? Well, because we're going to go over some Monster AI movement rules straight out of the Monster AI movement quiz as found on the Board Game Geek forum. If you don't know what that is, go look it up on the internet and check it out. It's worth checking out. And I try to do those rules and those quiz questions and answers on some interesting looking terrain so it looks cool and in a semi-interesting format. We'll see how successful I am after you watch the video. I have some other videos I've made on monster rules in the past, so go check those out if you like before you watch this one. We're going to be covering questions 11 through 15. So without further ado, let's jump into our rules, get our Gloomhaven +7 helmets of intelligence on, and let's do this thing.
For our first question, which happens to be question 11 from the quiz, we see an Inox archer with 1 movement, 1 attack, range 2 and target 1. Also present on the board are the Scoundrel and the Spellweaver. We also have a trap in this space, and an obstacle here, and another here. With the current stats of the archer as shown, what will our friendly neighborhood Inox do? Will he move to space B and attack the Spellweaver? Will he move to space A or B, player's choice, to attack the Scoundrel with disadvantage? Will the Inox move on to the trap here, thereby losing disadvantage, and then make his attack against the Scoundrel? Will he stay put and attack the Spellweaver, so as not to attack at disadvantage? Or will he stay put and attack the Scoundrel at disadvantage? The correct answer to this question is number 5, stay put and attack the Scoundrel at disadvantage. Now let me explain why. The first thing the monster does is select a focus, which is the nearest enemy model, in this case the Scoundrel. Because the monster has a means of attacking the Scoundrel without stepping on the trap is considered a negative hex and the monster will therefore treat it as an obstacle for movement purposes. Since the Scoundrel is the focus, the monster would normally attempt to lose disadvantage, but with a movement of 1, there is nowhere the monster can go to lose that disadvantage with its current movement. Therefore, since movement does not improve the attack or affect the ability to attack the Scoundrel on this turn in any other way, the monster does not move at all, stays put, and attacks the Scoundrel at disadvantage. Next question, number 12 from the quiz. Here we have a Bandit archer with 2 movement, range 2, and a target 2 attack. He is facing off against characters numbered by their initiative values. So character 1, the Spellweaver, character 2, the Brute, character 3, the Mind Thief, and character 4, the Scoundrel. During the Bandit archer's activation, what will he do? Will he back up to attack the Brute and the Mind Thief? Will he step back and focus the enemies in their initiative order, focusing first the Spellweaver and then the Brute? Do the players get a choice in either movement or focus, depending on where the movement takes the archer? While you contemplate what you would do, let me show you some actual footage of a real-life player calculating Gloomhaven monster movement. Alright, we've run the numbers on Gloomhaven monster movement and hopefully come to the correct solution to this problem. That solution is answer 4. The monster moves to A or B, and in either case attacks the Brute and the Mind Thief. Now let me explain why. The first thing a monster does before anything else is select its focus, and that focus is always the enemy it can perform its current attack against using the least amount of movement. In this scenario, all characters can be attacked without the archer even moving, so we must use our tiebreakers to determine primary focus. The first tiebreaker is proximity to the model, and the nearest enemies here are the adjacent ones, the Brute and the Mind Thief. Since both Brute and Mind Thief are equidistant for the monster, we have to move to the next tiebreaker, comparing initiative values of only these 2 figures. In comparison, we see the Brute with the lower initiative becomes the primary focus. But since the archer has a target to attack, we can follow the same steps and see that the Mind Thief should also be targeted with the second attack, if possible, since its proximity to the archer is closer than all remaining figures. Now that we know who the focused enemies will be, we can determine the archer's activation actions. After selecting focus, the archer will attempt to attack its focus, the brute, to maximum effect, which means he will first attempt to lose disadvantage and then attempt to shoot another monster if possible, using the least amount of movement. This means the archer moves to either space A and shoots the brute and the Mind Thief, or to space B, again shooting the brute and the Mind Thief. Player's choice. Moving on to question 13. We have a Vermling scout playing the part of Monster 1, along with 2 of his allies. He is facing off against the Spellweaver, the Cragheart, and the Tinkerer, numbered by their respective initiative orders for this round. There are rocks in front of the scout, which act as obstacles, and there is a trap to the side of the obstacle and the scout as well. For the scout's activation, what will he do? Will he focus the Tinkerer and move around the trap to space A? Will he move in to attack the Tinkerer this round and step through the trap to end on space B? Will he move to space D, putting him closer to the Spellweaver or as a means to move around his ally towards the Cragheart? Or will he focus the Cragheart and move, stopping on space C? Well, what did you decide? Did you decide to move the monster to space D?
Son of a... You done messed up, Aaron!
Because the correct answer is the monster will focus the Cragheart and move to space C. And here's why. To find our focus, first we determine which path of movement will get us in range to attack an enemy using the least amount of movement. Since there is a clear path to enemies going around both sides of the obstacles, the trap is considered a negative hex, and the monster will treat it as an obstacle, so we can discount moving through it as a viable choice. Now we count movement spaces to see who is nearest. We see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to attack the Tinkerer, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to attack the Spellweaver, and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to attack the Cragheart. Since it's tied at 4 movement spaces to either Spellweaver or Cragheart, we check our tiebreakers. First tiebreaker is proximity to the model. So we count how many spaces distant the enemies are as the crow flies, and we see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to the Spellweaver, and only 1, 2 spaces to the Cragheart. Therefore, the Cragheart is the focus. The Vermling will move towards the Cragheart, 1, 2, but the third space is occupied by his ally, so he can't land there. At 2 spaces away, this space here is no closer, also 2 hexes away, so he won't advance when his shortest path goes through his ally. Therefore, he stops on space C. Moving right along to question 14, here we have Monster 1, the Inox Archer, and one of his allies here. We also have the Spellweaver, the Tinkerer, and Cragheart, numbered on the screen by their initiative values. With 1 movement and a target to attack, what does the Inox do? Will he move to space B and attack the Spellweaver and the Tinkerer? Will he move to space A and attack the Spellweaver and the Cragheart? Will he move to space A and attack the Spellweaver and the Tinkerer? Will he step onto the trap and attack the Spellweaver and the Cragheart? Will he stay put and attack the Spellweaver and the Tinkerer? Or will he move to C and just attack the Spellweaver? The correct answer is number 3. Move to space A and attack the Spellweaver and the Tinkerer. I'm going to let my good friend Will explain the key to solving this problem.
At the end of the day, this is a game of focus.
Thanks, Will. And you're absolutely right. We have to first determine focus before we do anything else. The nearest enemy model is the Spellweaver, so that is who the Inox will focus with its attack. Next, with ranged attacks and movement, monsters prioritize losing disadvantage over maximizing their attacks. So the Inox will step away from the Spellweaver and move either here or here. Since the Inox can attack the Spellweaver without stepping on the trap, he will treat the trap as an obstacle and avoid it. Therefore, the Inox will move back to space A, where he will shoot the Spellweaver. However, the monster will also attempt to attack at maximum effect, which in this case means attack a second target. So who is that second target going to be? We see both these characters here, each at range 2 from the monster. So you might think you'd move on through the tiebreakers and go with the lower initiative value, targeting the Cragheart. But that is not the case here, because the secondary target of the attack must be determined from the monster's original position before performing movement. This being the case, we can see that the proximity to the Tinkerer is 1, 2 hexes, and it is 1, 2, 3 hexes to the Cragheart. Therefore, The Tinkerer is the secondary focus, and the Archer steps away to give both adventurers their prize, an arrow to the face. We have made it to the final question, question 15. But before we do that, I figured I'd show off a little of my terrain, and since this is my channel, I can do a little shameless advertising at the same time. So now a word from our sponsor, me. It's probably obvious to you that I love me some 3D gaming terrain. But for those that don't know, I actually designed this terrain you're looking at. And along with my co-founder who goes by the name Jay Carter on Facebook or the 15091 Bravo on YouTube, we started up the Hex Terrain company, Talisman Saber Terrain. We design, print, paint, and sell full packs of terrain compatible with hex-based games such as Gloomhaven. We were fortunate enough to have been commissioned to build the Gloomhaven demo boards for Cephalofair Games for the gaming convention PAX Unplugged in December of 2019, and that's when Cephalofair unveiled Frosthaven. You can see a video about that terrain board right here if you're interested. But if you like what you see and you want some of your own cool-looking terrain that's ready to play out of the box, you can check us out on our YouTube channel here, on Facebook, we're Talisman Saber Terrain, or at talismansaberterrain.com. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled Gloomhaven rules video. In our final scenario, we have the Inox Archer facing off against the Scoundrel, the Brute, and the Tinkerer, and one of the Tinkerer's summons. The Tinkerer is long resting this round. We also have a poison acid pit trap right here, and these barrels and boxes act as obstacles here. So of course the Scoundrel can do what Scoundrel players do, which is hide in the corner, looting and counting all their coins. The Inox has 2 movement and a range 3, target 3 attack. The quiz online gives us 8 different complicated choices to pick from, and I'm not going to put all that here on my screen, so to make everything easier, I've just put up the options where the Inox can move and who he can target with his attacks. And you can put on your Gloomhaven thinking caps and pick what you think the correct answer is. Will the Inox move to space A and target the Scoundrel and the Tinkerer? Will he move on to space B? And if so, which of everyone will he target? Will he move to space C? If so, targeting which figures? Or will he step onto the trap? And again, if so, who will he target? Feel free to pause the video and work it out on your own, and when you're ready, pick the space and target or targets you think the Archer will attack, and we will proceed. If you picked that the Archer would do something other than move to space B and attack the Scoundrel, Tinkerer, and Brute, I'm sorry, but you are...
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Step 1, as always, is to figure out focus. We count and see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the Scoundrel, and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the Tinkerer. Tiebreaker when distance and proximity is the same, go to initiative, so the Scoundrel is the primary focus. We can also see there is a clear path around the trap on both sides, so the trap becomes a negative hex and is treated as an obstacle. We know the Scoundrel is the primary focus, but some of you might have thought the Inox would then advance to where he could maximize his attack and target 2 other figures, and you might have selected based off initiative values, thinking the summon would be targeted before the character. That is incorrect in this case, because just as in the previous question, you need to determine all this before you move the figure. We need to count from here, and we know it's 4 hexes to both Scoundrel and Tinkerer. Therefore, they are the focus over any other figures. We count to the Summon and Brute and see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. We have primary focus and secondary target by means of the tiebreakers. The third target has to be one of these 2. Now we only compare their initiative values, and we see the Brute is going at 99, but the Summon is going just before the Tinkerer, who is long resting. Long rest happens last. You can treat that like 99.5 if you like, which means the Summon goes after the Brute. Therefore, the Brute wins the initiative tiebreaker, and his prize, you guessed it, another nice fat arrow to his big fat Brute face. So the Archer steps up to space B and shoots the Scoundrel, the Tinkerer, and the Brute.
Alright, welcome back. How'd you do? Did you get most of the answers right, some wrong, maybe more wrong than right? I know the first time I took the quiz, I probably got a lot more wrong than I did right, which is what motivated me to start making these videos in the first place. So don't feel bad if you're in the same boat. Hopefully the video was informative. you learned something, or it was semi-entertaining. I don't know. If you liked it, hit a like, subscribe if you feel like it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you like these type of rules videos, you want me to make more, you want me to do some other type of content, if you like the way I explain the answers or try to do some different visuals to help clarify things, just let me know. And I'll try and make another one covering the next 5 questions in the near future, but we all know this takes a while, so we'll see how long until I get to the next one. But as always, happy gaming.